For we are to God the fragrance of Christ. 2 Corinthians 2 verse 15. Hello guys, hello everybody, my name is Tokwe and welcome to my channel. This is Top Notes by Tokwe and my name is Tokwe. Today on the channel I'm going to talk about Elizabeth Arden's white tea. I have the original white tea and I have two flankers. There's three flankers, but I just have two today to talk about. It's a fragrance that I really enjoy, but I just realized that I have not talked about it on my channel. Well, I did once. That's the bottle I finished. I got another. I was like, hey, you know what? Let me compare these fragrances. So if you're interested in knowing my opinion about these fragrances, stay tuned. But before we get into the video, if you're new here and this is the first time you're seeing my face, I do fragrance related content, and if you're very interested, why don't you subscribe? Also, as you go through this video, don't forget to like, and I'll love you to also comment. I enjoy commenting or chatting with you in the comment section. So without much ado, let's get into the video. Hey, welcome back. So I'm going to dive straight into it. I'm going to start with the first one, which would be the original white tea. This is how it looks like. So it's usually just white. It's a gradient white bottle. It's a simplistic, it has a plastic cap, nothing much, and it has like a bronze cover. Elizabeth Arden white tea. This is a 100 ml bottle that I have. So I really enjoy this fragrance. It opens very beautifully with some mandarin, some clergy sage. It has some sea breeze accord in it, and then in the middle it has rose, it has mate, it also has it has rose, it has mate, it has white tea, of course, because it's white tea. And then in the dry down, it has amber, it has amberette, it has musk, it also has tonka bean. So it's one of those fragrances that it has a lot of notes if you look at it, but it's quite very simplistic, very beautiful, and it works beautifully well in the hot weather. This is my second bottle of the white tea. This is the original one, and I truly enjoy it just because it blossoms very well, and then when it dries down, it develops also beautifully. It's not a linear scent at all. So it starts off very citrusy, very blue, aquatic, and it's clean, and then slightly herbal because of the clergy sage in it. And when it is beginning to dry down, let's say the first 30 to 1 hour of it, it begins to get very floral sweet, but not gourmandish sweet, just a sweet floral, which I attribute to the rose in the middle and also the white tea. White tea is a very mild kind of tea, but it's also quite refreshing. Mate, which is in the mid note, it's a South American drink drunk in Argentina, and it's like a coffee, but it's brewed, it's beautiful, and it contains matin, which is found in caffeine. I think that is one of the ingredients here that makes it truly very refreshing. And then in the base, it dries down into this beautiful sweet because of the tonka in it. You know, tonka bean is something that smells similar to vanilla, so it's very rounded, but it's very light at the same time with a bit of musk and then amber there, so it makes it very rich and very beautiful, yet it's very light, and it blossoms very well in the hot weather. So this is a fragrance that it's a dumb reach for me, especially when the weather is hot. It is the downside of this fragrance that it doesn't really last. It projects actively for like an hour 30 minutes. Sillage is almost just a little around you. It's not very, it doesn't have a large sillage. It also doesn't have a very high longevity. Longevity is low to medium, and for me it stays on my skin very, you know, maybe 2 to 3 hours, maybe 4 at the maximum, depending on the days and depending on the number of sprays that I go on with. But because of how much it costs, this is going for 14,500 naira at Essenza, Nigeria. So you can get that is about $30 to $35. So that's how much it is selling for. So I mean, because of that, I don't mind throwing it or decanting it into my purse and then re-spritzing anytime I find the need to. But it's a beautiful fragrance. It does very well, and also I think that this fragrance is beautiful for people that work in work environments where they cannot wear fragrance, because it is not super overpowering. Just 1-2 sprays for that kind of a person that probably is a nurse or is a doctor, works in some form of medical field, that because of how their clients might feel they're not allowed to wear fragrance. This is a beautiful fragrance for you. It doesn't, it's beautiful, yet it's not too overpowering. It's just a very nice, and it's also a beautiful compliment getter. Should people get into your space and smell it, they definitely would ask. So as a person, if someone says I smell nice, I don't really consider that as a compliment, because I smell nice all the time. I know, right? But if someone says, "Oh, you smell like, what are you wearing?" I think for me, that's a step further to ask me what I'm wearing is a compliment. And a lot of people have asked, "Oh, what are you wearing when I wear this?" And then I tell them. A lot of people, usually it's like four, So yeah, and when you tell them, they're shocked because it kind of smells better than the name, and it's very beautiful. So it's a very calming tea fragrance with florals in it, mostly rose in this one, but because of the tanker, it dries down a bit sweet, not gourmand, it's just sweet, beautiful, and that is what I like about this. So the next one that I'm going to talk about is the rose, wild rose. So there's another flanker of it. This is it. It's white tea, wild rose, and this one too, just like the white tea, this one opens with pear blossom. It has red currant, and then it has palmarosa in it. In the base, it has Bulgarian rose, it has Turkish rose. I think that is why it's called wild rose, because it has like a combination of different rose flowers in it. And then it also has clary sage in it. It has the white tea, it has tonka bean, it has amber, and it has amberette mate absolute in it. So you can see that it takes some of the notes of the original white tea, which would be in the tops, it doesn't. So here, the only comparison this has with white tea is the rose here, which is in the heart, which is the Bulgarian and Turkish rose. And then in the base, it has tonka bean. And then also the mate that was in the mid note of the other one has been put here in the middle notes, but as a mate absolute. This for me is the closest to the white tea. Yeah, it opens up very fruity, and it's just very, because I think it's because of the pear blossom, the citrus. It's the red currant gives it a much more berry feel to it, and it's just really beautiful. And then in the middle, because of the rose, this one is a tad bit sweeter. It leans a bit more, it's just like the white tea, but this one leans a tad bit more gourmandish. It's more sweeter, not gourmand, but much more sweeter and floral than the white tea original. And even though the white tea is here, it somehow slightly gets lost in the beginning when it's developing, but when it dries down, you get the white tea in it, but you don't get the white tea as much as you get it in the white tea or the original white tea. And the original white tea has a much more citrus feel to it, and then citrus aquatic, and this one has much more of a fruity berry, a berry floralness to it, with a heavy note of the tanka. And I mean, looking at what mate is made of, there's some form of cream in it too, so I think that cream gives it some much more creaminess and bodiness to it that makes it beautiful. This one, the same performance, the same sillage, the same, it's everything with the first one. So we're talking 2 to 3, it's going to be projecting for the first hour and a half. After that, you can't really smell until the person is in your space. For longevity, we're talking 3 to 4 hours maximum, after which it becomes a scent. And then for sillage, it keeps very close to you. This one too, it's perfect for somebody that works in an environment where they're not allowed fragrances of any form, or just basically, this one is good for that kind of person. This is close just because of the rose, and I enjoy this one too, but not as much as that the white tea itself. So I mean, when I ran out of my white tea, I kind of was reaching out for this more, so I've gone down a bit. But now that I've replaced my white tea, I keep reaching for it. But this is similar. So if you're buying and you don't see the white tea original, you have this, but this is minus the citrus and the aquatic breeze. So if the citrus and the aquaticness of the white tea, you wouldn't get in this one. So that's the major difference. The last but not the least that I have is the same thing, and this is the vanilla orchid. This is for me, to my nose, this is a bit different. This begins with notes of lemon, bergamot. It has vanilla orchid, it has white tea, it has gardenia, it has jasmine, it also has vanilla, it has amberette, it has musk, and then it has Florentine, iris, and then it has amber. So for me, this one is a nice play of white florals. It's like the white tea with white florals, because it's, if you look at the vanilla orchid, it's a pale yellow to white flower, and then it has gardenia there, it has some jasmine, and then it has the Florentine iris, which is also a bit white, off whitish flower. So this is beautiful, but for me, this is my least favorite. I don't know, for some reason the vanilla and the I feel like the tea is there and then the vanilla is there, but they don't work well together. There's something that is a bit off on this one for me, that it doesn't make me reach out for this one as often. I mean, when I ran out of my white tea, this one too, I was kind of reaching out for it a bit just to be able to enjoy. But I found myself that during the day, in the mornings when I spritz this one, just as I'm about to step out, I just take the wild rose one, and then put it on just for added, So, but the times when I had worn this one by itself, I didn't really enjoy them. There was something about this. If you ask me, this one, the wild rose, is much more closer to the white tea itself, just that it's a bit more floral. It's a berry floral one that is well rounded and beautiful. But this for me, and then another thing is, performance wise, this was much sweeter. This one was the vanilla orchid was much sweeter. It leaned a bit more to like a gourmandish for me. It was much sweeter. I think it was the sweetness that I couldn't stand. It somehow just became too much for me. It gets a bit cloying for me, this particular one. I think that was it. And then that's it. It gets a bit cloying for me, just a bit too sweet on my skin. The way the vanilla and the vanilla orchid develops on my skin, it gets a bit too cloying. I think that is why I didn't really enjoy this. And then you don't get the white tea from this one so much. Like, you could almost miss that there's tea in this. I think that is another thing for me. So amongst the two, which is vanilla orchid and then the wild rose, I would say that the wild rose is much closer to the white tea than the vanilla orchid is. I don't know if you've had any experiences with any of these Elizabeth Arden white tea. I'll love you to comment below. But I think that the white tea on its own is a beautiful staple for hot weather. So if you're one that lives in the hot weather, I would definitely recommend the white tea here, the original for you. Try it. It's very beautiful. It does so well in the sun. I was put on this fragrance by Angel lately. I'm going to link her channel below, and honestly, I have been on this for like, I think, a year now, and it's been a great fragrance. I started with a 30 ml and then I got 100 ml, which I've run out, and this is my second 100 ml, so I'm going on my 230 mls of this bottle of this fragrance, and I think it's a beautiful fragrance. You can check it out. If you're not very sure, you can get a sample or a small. The 30 ml is the smallest you can get, and sometimes they do gift packs that have 3. That's the white tea vanilla orchid, and the white tea wild rose together. So if you like that, you can also try them. But I would really love to read from you and your opinions about these fragrances. And also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.